What up? What up? What's good? Welcome to Leadership Over Libations, the platform and the place where creatives, visionaries, entrepreneurs, and those who aspire belong. I'm your host, Mr. T. Brown, and I'm just glad to be here, man. I'm excited about tonight. Welcoming y'all to the new podcast. This is episode 1, so we real fired up and excited about that. Our very first guest, very first show. So y'all part of history in the making right now, man. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it, man. We got an awesome show. I got an awesome guest. This brother, man, I don't need to introduce him really. I'm going to let him talk about himself. But, a brother that's a friend, you know what I mean? A man of God, a family man, a businessman, entrepreneur, author. I mean, the list goes on. So without further ado, man, I want to introduce to the world, Mr. Breon Worthy.
Man. I appreciate it. I'm trying to live up to all the great titles that you gave me. But, to be honest, I mean, I'm just a little bitty brown boy from Milwaukee, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. So, man, again, man, I just welcome you for being here. Thank you for being here. Just to get a part of this thing that we doing, man. I'm a little lost for words. You know what I mean? I normally don't hesitate, don't stutter a whole lot, man. But I'm just excited, man, because this is my baby. This is the first thing that we doing, man. You are part of the very first episode. You know what I'm saying? So I'm appreciative. Glad that you was able to join me tonight, man. And we gonna get right into it, man. So before we even get started, and I introduce you, we always do what we call the pie in the sky, right? We toast and we have our libation of choice. So what is it that you sipping on tonight, first and foremost, before we kick it off?
Tonight I chose my preferred beverage, some tart cherry juice.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with. So I'm going all natural tonight.
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, man, me on the other hand, I'm celebrating life every day, man. It's a blessing to be here again, and I'm sipping on a little champagne. And so we gonna toast, man, to first and foremost the pie in the sky. The first P stands for a positive, the I stands for informative, and the E stands for euphoric. So this is what we toasting to, man, tonight to this conversation. Appreciate you, brother, man. Cheers.
Scott. Yes, sir. Cheers.
All right, man. So
it's all right.
Yeah, man, let's get right to it. So without further ado, man, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, your history, your background, just to kind of get the people a little taste of who we dealing with.
Hey, background. Where should we start? I mean, we just start all the way back from Milwaukee. My education came from the School of Hard Knocks. I went there from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated with an associate's degree, but I'm from the University of Light family. And so being born and raised in Milwaukee like yourself, you know what I mean? I have seen the top, I've seen the bottom, I've seen the good, I've seen the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I survived.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, through the education of life, man, through the University of Life, rather, I got a diverse education, man.
Okay, for sure, man. Yeah. So again, you from the streets of the mill too, you know what I mean? Milwaukee is a place where a lot of people, man, don't understand. Like I said briefly in my intro, it's a place of promise. It's a place of growth and prosperity, but it is a place of the crab mentality. You know what I mean? So, for me, I look at it as if you can make it out of Milwaukee, you can make it in anywhere. You know what I mean? So I know you can speak on that a little bit. So as you talk about your background, your history, where you come up, and what got you to where you are today. What's the process? You know what I mean? Where did you start from? What was that aha moment that you got that, made you say, I want more?
You know what? I think the first thing that sparked it for me was travel.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's some folks from where we from that ain't never been to Racine.
Yeah.
And that's just a city over,
Right.
And so I think when I first started traveling, it opened my eyes to see how big the world really was and how small where we were from really was. And so taking that into perspective, just seeing so many new things and learning about new cultures and how people operate and move down here, I started to see uh, that the world is a big old fishbowl, not just this little bitty fishbowl that we used to.
Right.
So that's what kind of sparked it all for me. That it's more to life than just Milwaukee.
Definitely. So given the fact that you know you're from Milwaukee, you know, definitely established entrepreneur, businessman currently today. But I want you to elaborate a little bit again about like the process. Like, you know, most people, you know, they work a 9 to 5, you know, they um, you know, sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? You know, they punch a
Mhm.
clock every day, they get up, they work for the man. Uh, and then they have that aha moment. You know, what was that for you? What was the moment that it clicked and said, you know what, I can't do this, or I got to do something different. You know, I want to do something different. And then we're gonna elaborate a little bit about currently where you are, but I just want to give the people a
Yeah.
little taste about what was it that clicked, or what was that spark in you that said, you know what, I'm gonna go from here to here. You know, give me that almost like that struggle, you know, because not everybody had a
Exactly.
struggle, you know what I mean? Not everybody had a story of, you know, of being poor and being homeless. You know, most people that you hear successful today, man, you know, they have a story of sleeping in their car and I was stranded and all of that. You know, that's not everybody's story. But you know, some people come from good blue collar families and rich and everything and still not where they want to be in life. So I just want you to kind of elaborate to the people, man, and kind of, you know, share, you know, what was it for you? What were you doing? And then what happened to make you transition?
See, this is the beauty of this being natural um, and unscripted because as you was asking that, I had in my mind a response. But when I really started to dig deep in truth, when you say what was that aha moment for me, my heart started beating fast because the aha moment for me started at 17 years old.
Mhm.
In my mom's crib, couldn't abide by the rules. You know what I mean? And listen, I was on the block grinding into God knows what. But my moms are so strict that nigga, I still got whoopings. I still had to be in the house by 9:30. And at 17, I just had enough. I was like, that's it. I'm running away.
That's right.
And I did. I did. I ran away. And so I don't know what the homeless and sleeping in the car thing is, but it happens to the best of us. So in my case, I had a girl I was talking to. Her mom was very cool. And she was like, Breon can come stay over here anytime. And so I took her up on the offer. I'm like, okay, well, I smashed at your crib for, a couple of weeks till I get myself together. And I had a 85 Cutlass. I had just got it out the paint shop, mail wetted up for me, paid like 4,200 for the paint job. She said, you can park that in the garage. And my ego wouldn't allow me to stay with her. So I was like, you know what? I just parked my car in your garage. I'm sleeping in the car for weeks. And I go in there to shower, you know what I mean? Get up, get dressed, go back to the block and hustle. And one night it was raining so bad, and I'm in this garage, and I'm like, my mama got an open door for me. All I got to do is abide by the rules.
That's right.
But because I didn't abide by the rules, I put myself in a predicament to where I was sleeping in the garage.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, life got to be more than this. So I took it upon myself the next morning. I'm like, I had enough of this. I'm going to go enroll myself back in school because I had dropped out of school and everything. You
Mm.
know, I ain't never been no straight A student, but I ain't never been no bad student either.
Mm.
So I'm like, I got to get back in school. I got to get myself on track. My goddad was a smoker. I offered him $30. Hey, come down to the school board with me and act like you my pops. Get me back in school.
Mm.
I enrolled in CYD on 30th. He went and got me back in school. And I was like, I'm graduating because my mother, one thing was always for you to graduate and get your high school diploma.
Yeah.
That was my ceiling. I never thought past that. Nobody never introduced me to college from the hood. I don't know too many people went to college. I know more people that went to jail than I knew went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And even at my young age, I knew more people that died to the streets than people went to college.
Exactly.
So that wasn't even a mindset of mine. So, like I said, my goal was just to graduate high school. And when I went to high school, I started working in the midst of that. And like I said, the light bulb went out, and I started to think about all those times I traveled. I went to these cities and they had Black people that were influential. I'm seeing, older Black men dressed in suits, jumping out of Benzes, jumping out of Lexus. I know they ain't slanging. Hopefully they ain't slanging, but you know what I mean? They had blue collar jobs. And I was like, wow, the light bulb started going on. So that's what started it all for me there.
Okay, man, that's good, man. Look, that's what I'm talking about. So a lot of people really think again that the process to the promise is sweet. You know what I mean? Like everybody got a story to tell. Everybody got you can look at the polished version of a person and say, man, they always had it together. You know what I mean? Like they've always been that dude or that chick, right? But I always wanted to hear from other people's perspective, you know what I mean, as to how they started, what they went through. And I know it's a lot more than that, you know what I mean, that that you
Oh, it
don't care
is.
to go into, but again, it's just the transparency that I love. And that's what this podcast is pretty much all about, is just, showing people, man, that if I can do it, you can do it, right? And that's the thing. So seeing your history, seeing, where you from and where you come from, and what you went through, talk about now, where you are, what is it that you're currently doing, as far as business, as far as lifestyle, as far as career, just lay it out thick to the people as to,
Yeah.
who Breon Worthy is today.
So basically, to understand where I am now, you have to take a look back at my history to see where I came from. And, through it all, I understand that life's hard lesson actually taught me more than life's pleasures. I mean, you named the failure, whether being fired from a career that you thought you would have for many, many years, divorces, businesses failing, breakups, breakdowns, losing it all and getting it all back. So that's basically how I got to where I am today. Now, where I am today is a collage of all those things, past, present, and future. As far as the skill, I'm a creator. So any medium, any thing that you can think of to be creative, whether it's building a house from scratch, whether it's painting, whether it's sewing, uh, computer type stuff, like pretty much they can be created. God gave me the ability in my hands to do it and in my mind to think that I can.
That's right.
That's a mindset that started early. Parents instilled that in me at a very early. Do anything you put your mind to. Career wise, I'm in IT. So I do IT tech sales at the moment, doing that for about 8 months.
Okay. All right. So in tech sales, and again, you said creator, man. I've seen some of your work, designing, man. Like, this man you know what I mean? And literally can make stuff out of nothing. You know what I mean? I've seen your designs, I've seen your work. And I mean, it's just amazing. I'm gonna have that, in the bio for people to check you out and follow on all the socials and all of that. But um what inspired you, to get into that? What inspired you? I see behind you, you got the whole setup. So what inspired you to, to go into the design, to wardrobe, to sewing, to the whole nine?
So, fashion is my passion. As you know, where we come from, you got to be fly. You got to be able to put it on, as these young kids say.
Right.
And so I always had a knack to want to dress nice. I can recall being teased as a young cat because my mother would still dress me. She put me on I should be guy, so she put me on something real preppy. And the cats used to tease me, and so I learned how to be different. And I took what other people viewed as criticism or me being weird, and I turned it around just to understand that I am an individual. I am different than me. And because God created me to be a creator. And so sometimes that don't look like what everybody else thinks it should look like. And sewing was something that I always wanted to pursue. But I listened to those little voices in my head from the people around and people where we come from. Man, dudes don't sew. That's gay. Oh man. And I allowed that to stop me from pursuing something that basically changed my life.
Hmm.
So once I stopped listening to the outside voices, I'm like, look, I'm finna learn this skill and I'm gonna be best I can be at it. And I told my wife that I wanted a sewing machine because I've only been sewing actually for probably about a year and 4 months.
Hmm.
Become a passion and a major income earner. So it's something that I'm going to pursue probably until I leave here at this point. But I asked my wife, I just said in conversation, give me a sewing machine. So for Christmas, she surprised me. She got me a sewing machine. And it's been on since then.
All right. All right. Yeah, man. So yeah, like I said, I've seen your work, you know what I mean, it's dope. And I know what you mean when it comes down to like the stereotypes and to, people having this idea in their mind that um you it's gender specific. You know what I mean? Like you can't do this or you can't do that. And it's like, man, if God put it in me, you know what I mean, to do anything, I'm gonna do it. So that's a word right there for somebody, that have been told you can't or you shouldn't do something because of this or that. So on top of that, I know you got a book about to drop, you know what I'm saying? I know you're an author as well. So again, man, being able to have all the hats and wear them all well, tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired you to do that.
Yeah. So, just like this podcast, this your baby. My book is my life's work. And it's taken me years to get to the point of release.
Hmm.
Because again, just fears, uncertainty, all these other things made me procrastinate. And the more and more I thought about content that's within I realized that somebody's life may be lost simply because I haven't released this book. That's how much power your words have. So again, not only is it a pleasure and honor to be here, I understand that there is a mission behind you creating this platform because somebody will hear the sound of our voice, see the men that's before them on these cameras, and be encouraged, and will turn around and use these words to help springboard them into a future that they probably thought was never possible. It's how powerful words are. So when it came to the thought of writing a book, I really viewed it as life and death. And so that's what helped me push forward, stop procrastinating, and get this book out. And the title of the book is Mindset is Your Greatest Liability, Lies That They Told.
Mm. Man, say that again for the people, man. That got to
Your
stick. That hit.
mindset is your greatest liability, lies that they told.
Wow. Yeah.
How you think can be your greatest detriment, or it can be your biggest asset.
Hmm.
But you got to change your mindset.
Man.
Whether it's what people say about you, whether it's a stereotype, whether it's what you done sold yourself, what you didn't have, what you don't know, all of those things can be greatest liar.
Wow. That's deep, man. Yeah. So we definitely gonna drop, the link in the bio, for the pre-save,
Yes,
man,
sir.
that's deep right there,
Pre-orders
man.
are
I can't
virtual.
wait for it to drop. I gotta have an autographed copy of that, so I might read some on a future podcast, but definitely that's inspiring, man. Like I said, there's a lot of people out here that's probably aspiring to be, authors, be creators, be inventors, whatever it is, so to be able to be on this platform and to showcase what it is that you do and how great you are or how great you want to be, it's no limit. They always just say, sky's the limit, but we heard it's footprints on the moon. You know what I mean? So,
Sure.
so we don't
Sure.
we don't just aim for what we can see. We aim beyond what we can even see or imagine, right? So so with that, man, you creator, author, designer, man of God, family man. What's next? What's next on the horizon? Your 1, 3, 5 year, game plan, so to speak. Like where you currently are right now, what's the next thing that you want to accomplish or working on as we speak?
Again, with fashion being my passion, man, I was looking at the Met Gala the other day,
Hmm.
and looking at all them beautiful black faces and the outfits and stuff that they were wearing, and I was so inspired. And that's definitely one of my goals, to be able to dress an A-list celebrity, something that I've created.
Hmm.
That's, and to some it may not be big, but to me personally, that's a big goal, to be able to put an A-list celebrity or somebody of influence in something that I've made.
Hmm. That's deep, man. Deep. And I did catch a little bit of the Met Gala. You see a lot of designers, a lot of the celebrities walking up, and some of the stuff we be looking like, what the heck is they doing? And what is that all about? You know what I mean? But that's the creativity of people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like some people just don't understand it.
If they understood it, they would understand the prices behind some of the stuff. For an example, and I don't know if you saw it, but if you go back and look at the tuxedo that Pharrell had on,
Mm-hmm.
it was made from pearls, the whole tuxedo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it took like some hundreds of hours, thousands of hours
Yeah.
to create, for somebody to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when it comes to fashion, sewing in particular, just like many of the gifts that God has given, I don't do them for money.
Right.
Now, if I make something, what they say, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
Value is the same way. So if I don't make stuff to sell, if I make something, you want to buy it, price that it means to you, then that's what I want you to pay for. I know what it took me to make it,
Mm-hmm.
but when you create stuff from your heart, people really can't pay you for your work.
Hmm.
If you would price them, they wouldn't be able to pay it. All the blood, sweat, and tears that people don't see behind the scenes, they can't see the value. So again, I don't do it for the money. I do it for the love, appreciation towards God for the gift that He gave.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that, man, when God equips you and gives you a gift to do something, and the money will come. I mean, you do things with a pure heart, you do things with joy. And I learned growing up in business that if you can do something every day without getting paid for it, then that's your true gift. That's your true purpose. So anything that you're doing for money, for gain, it's in vain. It'll vanish because people go to work every day, like we said, where they hate their job, but they keep going, they keep showing up because they got bills, they got a family to take care of. But imagine being in a position where you can do what you love doing. People that love to make music, people that are not big in the music industry, but they still create. People that like yourself are designers, that are people that drop books, that sit on Amazon and that sit in the Barnes and Noble. But the fact that I love doing what I'm doing, it don't matter if it make millions or if it make tens of dollars. I'm still gonna create. So that's powerful, man. Again, we can go on and on, but I just wanted to open up the door again for you to elaborate a little bit more on, the process for the people, or should I say leaving gems for the people that are listening and that are watching. Um, words of advice, words of encouragement, some gems to drop as it relates to aspiring designers, aspiring, creatives, authors, things of that nature, just from your perspective, based on what you've been through and what you've, stood the test of times through. What can you offer to the people to say, again, if I can do it, you can do it? What are some of the things that you want to share?
Always try to be a better you. So, as Father Time, with his undefeated self, teach all of us that Longer you're around here, the more and more you need to take care of yourself.
Mm.
Mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally. Like, you have to learn how to take care of yourself. And through all of it, this point in life, I learned, keep going, keep learning, keep moving. Because when you stop any of these things, you die.
Mm.
Either literally or metaphorically.
Mm.
So in it all, I'm encouraging any human being to be a better you every day. Keep evolving, keep moving. And to do it, just start. As the conversation me and you had, leading up to this conversation, that it's so important to just, I know some people who share $1 million ideas with. We sit down and have conversations over dinner or whatever, and they have ideas that can save and change somebody's life. But they let themselves get in the way of simply start, simply do whatever it is. Do it imperfect. Do it without knowledge. Do it without support. If you got to do it without a full understanding of it, just do it. You can course correct on your way through, but just do it. I can't remember the name of the person I was just watching. They were in the graveyard, and they said, "Do you know how many ideas are in this graveyard?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many $1 billion ideas rest right here in this graveyard? They went right to the grave with them. I don't want to let my ideas die with me. I want to get them out." I listened to this audiobook recently called The Diary of the CEO. And he said, in regards to entrepreneurs, the mistakes that they're afraid to make is the reason why they aren't successful.
Mm-hmm.
Your problem is you ain't feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You're not feeling. Because he ain't put the effort out there to try to even fail.
Exactly.
And any successful business, any successful entrepreneur has had a fair amount of failures in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they learn. Like I told you, life obstacles taught me way more than life's pleasure.
Exactly.
Firm believer in it.
Yeah. I mean, I read a book, before called Failing Forward. You know what I mean? Like, and the biggest thing that I take from what you said, is, just start. You know what I mean? So this is a transparent moment. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is our very first episode, man. This has been a long thought out thing. This has been something that, has been on me for a long period of time, to get it started, man. Just get it started. You got so much stuff going on. You can find so many excuses to not start, right? But I realize that excuses is only comfortable for people that make them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, just getting started and, with the imperfections and with all the stuff that you can go through, with editing and, and repurposing and all that stuff, man, I'm just like, that ain't my cup of tea. You know what I mean? I like to shoot from the hip. I like to just talk and I like to just, I'm passionate about what I do. So a lot of times, man, I might not even be able to get the words out sometimes, but it's a blessing to be able to, like I said, sit here in this space to really kick this first episode off with you, man, and really kind of, set the tone for anybody that's watching that, man, just get started. You know what I mean? Like I'm a living testimony, and the word enemy, we say we are our worst enemy. We are our only enemy. And when you break that down in me, it's in me.
Really?
You know what I mean? So I'm my own worst enemy, looking at myself in the mirror. And I said to myself, man, do you really want this? Do you really want to do this? And the basis of why I'm doing it is, like you said, my passion is allowing me to be able to do it at a grand scale. So whether it's 10 views, 10,000 views, or 1,000,000 views, this is where I'm at, man. This is where I belong. So with that, man, I want to close. Again, just to appreciate you for being here, man. We always like to close off with the pie in the sky again. You know what I mean? But before I do that, tell us your social media handles, how can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out to you? How can they buy a book? How can they buy some merch? Give me the full rundown so we can drop it in the bio for the people that's watching and listening to be able to support you in everything that you got going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my website is worthybespoke.com, WORTHY, the letter B, SPOKE.com. That's where you can find my latest fashion. That's where you can find the pre-order for my book. My social media handle for the writing is Breon the Writer, BREON, the Writer. My artwork can be seen at To Be Worthy of Art, number 2, letter B, Worthy of Art.
Got it. Got it. All right, man. So yeah, I think that's everything. Man, once again, my brother, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule to grace us with your presence, to be on the very first of many shows on Leadership Over Libations. It
Yes,
was a
sir.
pleasure, man, talking to you, chopping it up with you, learning from you. We always end the same way we came in. You know what I mean? We toast to your success. We toast to your future endeavors, the pie in the sky being prosperity, independence, and eminence. So cheers to you, my brother, man. I appreciate you once more.
Cheers.
And with that being
Thank
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And with that being said, everybody, man, like, subscribe, share, uh, you know, help us out, man. We looking to be, the next best thing in podcasting, on YouTube and everything else. So the links are in the bio again. And for right now, man, we out. So till next time, remember, if you aim at nothing, you bound to hit it guaranteed. We out.
you.